Uh, you know what I miss about historical miniatures gaming? Having been involved in this part of, okay, we have a whole bunch of rules. And of course, they're perfect right now. Uh, they're all good, right? But we've been concentrating on Hex Command Nova for X number of months, going into maybe years now, as opposed to the historical stuff because we just wanted to do it. That's why. So we wanted to do something like a Battle Mech Cav game, but in our own way. So we call it Hex Command Nova. It's based on Hex Command Mechanized, which is World War II. Rules for World War II. But you know what I miss about historic gaming? I mean, not having done it in a long time. You get all this really cool terrain. Yeah, like you get fences and walls and bridges. Well, you get bridges in Nova and so on. But I mean, fences and walls and bridges and forests and all kinds of stuff. And that's what I miss. I miss not having it on the game table. Do I miss the work and getting it out? Well, here's the point. How much work is involved, right? Okay. The reason that there's a lot of work involved traditionally is because you have a length of fence. Where is this camera? A length of fence like this. And a couple of these, more than a couple, go together to make a field perimeter. Well, you have to have fields and stone walls. In other words, snake fences and stuff like that. Say you're in American Civil War, American Rev. You got all this types of North American fields that are bordered with something. Whereas in Europe, they're not so bordered in this same era. Horse and musket. They're just because they had ditches more than they had fences around the perimeters of their fields. Their fields could be massive, by the way. They could be really huge, but in America, not so much space. So they bordered the fields with stone walls and fences and such. Okay, so there's the work. Well, maybe not so much. Why? Because what you can do, there's a couple of things you can do to make the work a lot less when it comes to fields. First of all, the number one thing is that you have to, again, as we are doing, standardize. So if you're going to standardize the size of all the fields, do they all have to be the same? Yeah, you want them to all be the same. Why? Because of storage issues and also because of predictability. If you have all these different shapes and everything, it gets to be, tough. There will come a time when you're going, yeah, it would be better if I had all the same shapes because then it would just be better. Okay, so you have a field, do you? Okay, say it's a cloth. All right, you put the cloth down, you put the fences around it, done. So when you get the field down, you have to put the perimeter in and you're done. But what if the field was like, a piece of fabric, like this piece of fabric? What if you had a piece of fabric? Okay. What if it was like a corrugated piece of fabric? Brown in color, so it looks like a recently turned up field. All right? With burrows in it. Okay. You still got to put that down on the game table and then put fence perimeter in. Oh, maybe you don't. Here's what you do. You glue your fence permanently, if you will, but you can always take it off. It's not going to hurt anything. You can just take it off. You glue the fence down to the fabric. Well, wait a minute. Then what if the fabric's going to go between a hill elevation and a flat, lower elevation? You can't do that if the field has got fences glued to it. Yes, you can. Because you glue the fences on in strips that are shorter. So that when it negotiates the edge of the hill, the fences follow the contour. Oh, yeah, we've seen this before, and we may have talked about this before. But that's what you do. Now, going a step further, kind of a step further, instead of having a long piece of fence, okay, instead of having a long piece of fence like this, or like this, right, that's how big it is, You take a small piece, you glue it down to a strip of fabric, just a strip, like, this thick. And then you take another piece of fence and you glue that down, or wall, but they're chunks. So you chunkify, as we say in technical writing. You're chunkifying the content. And so you do this so that when you put the strip down, it can follow a contour. It's still an individual strip, but at least it can follow the contour of whatever hill shape you're using. And this is especially helpful for us because we don't necessarily have contours, but we have steps, like a step pyramid going up, contours, going up the height to create the height of a hill. So that you can have, now you put the strip down, okay. Now if you glue those strips to a piece of fabric, 8 by 8 or something conducive to the size of your hexagons, then there you go. Now your work is done, right? You're done. It's over. But you got to store it. So they're 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Now you got to store these sheets of fabric with these pieces of wall and or fence glued to them. And they're going to stack on top of each other, yes. And are they going to break? Well, okay, maybe. So you got to have, you got to get out like a desperado, fix those fences, repair those fences, because some are gonna break, and there's no way around it, of course, depending on how they're made. But anyway, that's the idea. So that's what I miss, and as you can see, we have simply stopped our Hex Command Nova for now, and we'll come back to it. We didn't remove the game table. We simply put it in storage. How do we do that? Well, we have in the back area what's called a battle stack. And we call it that because it's basically stacking battlefields on top of each other on 4x3 sheets of MDF. Or it could be pegboard, but the fact is they're 4x3 feet. And it's called battle stack because on the bottom and the middle and the top, it's a cabinet, if you will, of a 4x3 stackable unit sitting on the concrete pad of our crawl space. Yes, because we have a half basement, so we have a crawl space. We have to crawl up in there, but up between the concrete pad and the ceiling of the basement, we put this battle stack. And what it is, a 2x2 frame, relatively simple, a 2x2 frame that will hold layers of 4x3 sheets of MDF. That's 3 battles, 1, 2, and 3. So we just took the Hex Command Nova, still waiting for turn 5, but we did, at our last episode, count the infantry and other accoutrements that we're going to put in to turn 5 and finish that game off. And then so instead of just letting it sit behind us and not get used yet, we're gonna jump back into this historic layout and do a little historic gaming, maybe American Rev. Maybe American Civil War, but you know what? We have all 3 eras, either American Civil War, Napoleonics, American Rev, or even Ancients and Medieval. We could do. We'll find out. We'll throw this together and see how it looks. I think this board is a vinyl print of this graphic, and I think this was originally an American Revolutionary game. I don't quite remember it. It may have been based on one of the last bits of research that we did was on the Battle of Bennington. I don't remember now. But anyway, I think that's what this battle might be based on. Anyway, we had it printed on vinyl. It's nice. And it means we don't have to put down roads and rivers because it's printed that way, right? Sure, it costs money, but you don't need a lot of them, and you can do any orientation you want. So yeah, this is the one we're going to be doing. So we'll come back and progress with putting the terrain down.